How are we going, everybody? Well, as the season progresses, our tomatoes grow bigger and stronger and bushier. So how do you like growing yours? Do you like them big and bushy, or do you like them just a couple of thin leaders growing up and staked up to a single pole like this? Well, we're going to run through a couple of little examples of what you can do, and we're going to start today with the single pole. Now, if you let your tomatoes grow bushy, you'll find that they'll keep suckering up from wherever the leaf is. Let's go and find one here to show you what I mean. See how bushy it is in here? That's because we've got all these new shoots coming out. Now, if we start from the bottom here, let's just dissect this plant. Well, not physically dissect it, but let's just pull it apart and see what's going on. See this? We've got a shoot coming out from the bottom there, right there. Now, let me just take this pole out so we can see this properly and lay it down. Now, what we've got here is the main stem is just there, and then just below there, right at the bottom of the stem, is we've got a shoot coming up from down there. Now that's suckered off from down there, that's okay, but we've also got one on this side. See, there's another leader there. And then if we go around this side, we've got another one here. And if we keep going, we've got another one here. And if we keep going, here's another sucker. Now this sucker has come out from where the leaf joins the main stem. See this leaf here? Right there are nodes, and it's just shot out. And that, if I leave it alone, will keep growing and become something like this. Now, if we go a little bit further up, here's another one. See where the leaf is here, joining onto the main stem? We've got another shoot popping out. So these are all side shoots. That's got to come out, because if that stays there, there's another one there, and potentially every leaf, there's the potential of growing a side shoot. Now, in between the leaves, for example, if we come just a little bit higher, look, another shoot. But just in between the leaves on the opposite side, look, our cluster of flowers. So they don't grow out from the leaves where they join. They don't grow out of those leaf nodes. And there's another cluster of flowers just down here. See that there? So that's what we're looking for. Now, if you leave every stem to grow, like all these that are growing out everywhere, all these will potentially produce a cluster of flowers. Now, you can have one major stem like this. As you can see, that's the main one. You can have two or three if you like. That's the second one, let's say. We can pick one down below as a third one, or you can leave it all alone, let it just ramble everywhere and go treasure hunting looking for tomatoes. I personally prefer 3 stems. I've seen many homes do it with 2, but a lot doing with 3 as well, which are quite successful. I'm quite happy with that. But you've also got to factor in external conditions. It's not just how many stems you leave, it's also about the environment that they're growing in, because this is a harsh environment here. If I leave 2 stems or 3 stems on this, what I'm doing is thinning out the plant and allowing more airflow and sunlight through it. Now, we've got a really harsh environment, so that hot air and wind and sun can potentially cause damage to the plant. So for my position, I would recommend, well, what I do, and if anybody else has got a similar environment, is to cover them with a little bit of bird netting, and that's great. It's ample, it's enough to actually reduce a little bit of that sun glare. The insect netting is ideal, but the bird netting that I'm referring to is the 4mm opening. The aperture is only 4mm, so it's a wildlife-friendly bird netting. So what do you do with this? Now, if you're going to grow them on a single pole, you can't possibly have this many stems growing out of it, side shoots. If you're going to grow it as a trellis, and you can trellis these out quite easily, you can fan it out, and you still need to do some pruning. You can't possibly allow every shoot to develop like this. They'll like a little bit of shade, and some of these will be quite happy in that space, but too many shoots growing in there, too many leaves, is the potential of disease and insect attacking your plants. So we're going to thin it out. So we're going to start from the bottom and work out what we want to keep as the 3 main stems. This is the obvious one. Strong and sturdy, and ideally you start from the bottom with the main stems. Pick your 3 strongest stems. The first one is there, and you can see from home, you can say this one here is not too bad. That's about 150mm above ground level, or we can pick this one here and that one there. Now these are almost like water shoots. That's what they look like to me. So they've stretched out a little bit too long, as has this one here, which means they may not produce as many flowers as I'd like them to, or I would expect them to. So we're going to work around and start with the most obvious ones, which are the little ones. We don't want any more little ones growing through the main stem. So we go down here and we knock that one off. You can pinch them off if you like with your fingers, but I find pruning them with a clean pair of secateurs is good, and just make sure you don't prune the main stem, eh? I've done that before. So as we go through, you don't have to remove the leaves yet. The leaves will be removed as the plant grows taller. You can see already we've got some room. Look, there's another one growing on the back here. That one there. There's another one there. So that's way too many for a little plant like this. And what happens is it actually puts a lot more energy into the shoots and the leaves, and the flowers miss out on that. Even though it will try and flower across all of it, because there are so many leaves, it'll drain it of all its nutrients, and you don't want that to happen. Now, here's another one down here. See this little one back here? That one down there? That's in between this one down here and that one up there. That I'm going to get rid of because that's the smallest of the two that or the three that I'm looking at. So we prune that off as well. All right, we're starting to get a bit of shape here. I think we're going to take this one off because that's sitting right down, look, down here. Right down at the bottom there. Now, we can possibly add some soil and cover all this up and grow some more roots on these. But nah, I don't want that one. So let's cut that one off as well. That's gone. So now it's time to make a decision. We've got 4 stems here, and if I hold these up like that, that actually looks quite good, doesn't it? Nice and sturdy. That's a good healthy stem. This looks a little bit stretched. See how long and straight that is? It's almost like a water shoot, and that's a semi-water shoot. I'm inclined to take the lower one off, the one that's the straightest one, and then the one that's got the big distance between each leaf. You can see the spacing's quite stretched there. Well, almost the same, but it's really straight. And these ones tend to be males, that's what I call them. They don't produce any flowers or very little. And in just saying that, look at me, the fool. There's a cluster of flowers just up there. And don't worry, the plant will burst out with more growth if you prune one too many off. So we've got 3 now, folks. 1, 2, 3. And see what's happening here with all these leaves? You can leave them in for now, if you like, but if there's too many ones overlapping the other, better to remove the bottom ones and leave the top ones in place. Why? Because they still create a bit of a shade down below. If you take the bottom one, take the top one off and leave the bottom one, you're creating more sunlight in the middle, which is okay, but it can cause a bit more drying out. So, ooh, the bottom one, nearly took the top one off. There we are. So the bottom ones can come off like this. All these little ones, they're no good to us. They really don't need anything because the energy is being pushed towards the top. Don't want to strip it too much. And that's not a bad look so far. Okay, don't want to bear it off too much. If you take a lot of leaves at the bottom, you may want to mount up some soil. So let's put our stake back in and tie it up now. Get all this out of the way. Geez, look at the, you know what? I'm normally playing with 100 plants. I'm playing with 2 at the moment. This is the latest I've ever planted tomatoes, and I know a lot of you got some big ones already going on out there, and congrats to you guys. But I've got a surprise coming up soon, folks. I'm not going to announce it yet, but when the time comes, you're going to see why I'm planting so late, and I'll let you in on the secret when the time's right. All right, so we're going to tie this up here. Now, you want to keep the flowers away from the stake. The plant's not too bad, but so we tie it up like that, and don't tie it flat onto the stake like that. Do a figure 8. See how I've just done that there? One around the figure 8 around the plant, and then just a little knot on the other side here. That's all I'm doing. So that's that there. We'll cut that off, and I feel something behind me. What is that? It's a dog. Really? Are you guys okay over here? Yeah, do you mind? Vader, do you mind, mate? And now with the other 2, we do exactly the same. Remember, it's a vine. So it's not going to be the perfect shape. And as they grow up, believe you me, if you don't tie it up, they'll ramble out, right? And when they ramble out, they'll start cascading downwards in all sorts of ways. If you tie them upwards, at least they will start growing up, and you'll find they'll start to wrap themselves around. Well, they won't physically wrap them, but you'll be able to train them through. And as you bring them together, if you've got leaves, like I said earlier, crossing over each other, just pinch them out if you need to. Don't have too many leaves touching each other. So the bottom ones can be taken off. If you're not going to use a sécateur, here's a quick tip. When you're pinching a leaf off, index finger, that's what I use, underneath, and just hold your thumb behind the stem and press upwards, and if you can hear this, see how it just cracks? Don't pull it downwards. Don't break downwards, because you'll actually tear the skin, the outer layer, and rip an opening on the side of the stem. So click upwards, it'll snap almost immediately. Sometimes you might go up and then down, but most times just a click upwards will be enough. It'll suffice to take it off. So that's the safest way to do it. So we've tied the second one, and now we're going to tie the third one. And yes, see this now? By thinning it out, we've got a little cluster going on, and it's nice and protected. As they grow up, they'll start to stretch out, and you'll thin out a little bit more below. Have I got enough string here? Well, there you go, folks. Now I've tied 3 stems onto the 1 stake. 2 would be perfect, 3's maybe pushing the friendship, but as they grow and they thicken up, you'll be able to understand it a lot better and see. It looks a little bit messy, and that's pretty much what it is. So if you want to go with a single stake, I'd love to hear your tips and advice. I mean, I've been around so many homes and I've seen 2 and 3 and sometimes 4. 2's a real easy way to do it. 3, you got to maneuver it around a little bit here and there, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to do a single stake, you can do an espalier. Bit of mesh across here, and that's something I might do later on, and just keep them flat on there, and they'll just grow everywhere, and they'll just hang tomatoes off the sides of that. So we might do a bit of that, but we'll also do the string, and that's the way I love doing it too, by creating the frame, which is this frame here, and you hang a string down from the bottom to the base of the tomato, 2 or 3 strings, and each string is independent to have its own little vine growing up. We'll frame that up and we'll show you that one in the next little episode, but for now, single stem, lots of tying up going on like that, and a lot of pruning going on as well too, folks. So it wasn't a single stem, it was a single stake with 3 stems. Check out our website, vasili'sgarden.com. Got to correct myself before somebody else does. Maresi.